Thank you, Madam Chairman. After the horrors of the Second World War, we founded this Council of Europe. We had two objectives: no more war and no large-scale war, and no genocide. We had a number of smaller wars, and now we have a large-scale war. And today we're discussing the issue of a genocide committed by thousands of Europeans in Syria and Iraq. That is a failure in what we sought to do. In 2017, we decided that Daesh had committed genocide and other serious crime under international law. We called for an effective prosecution of these crimes by national courts in Syria and Iraq, member states by the application of universal jurisdiction, or by international hybrid courts. Unfortunately, there hasn't been any progress over the last 5 years. There has been further evidence that Daesh committed genocide against, first and foremost, Yazidis, but also against Muslim minority groups like Shia Muslims and Christians. If we are to take the 1948 Genocide Convention seriously, we have to consider that thousands of citizens of our Council of Europe member states have taken part in genocide. And states haven't had the legal obligation to prevent and punish it. For instance, by impeding the flow of foreign terrorist fighters who joined Daesh in Syria and Iraq, and by effectively prosecuting them to deter further crimes. We should not just focus on lesser crimes like membership of a terrorist organization. Germany last year showed us how to do it and convicted a female member for genocide. At the same time, suspects must be punished in a fair way with a fair trial. Many Daesh fighters remain detained for years in camps and prisons in northeast Syria and Iraq. It's unlikely that they will receive a fair trial in compliance with international standards. And in Iraq, they risk a death penalty. This situation is counterproductive in terms of security, given the risk of further radicalization by Daesh and by the recurrence of prison outbreaks. That's why we state that there should be an international tribunal, given the international nature of crimes committed and the fact that these fighters come from all over the world. We reiterate to actually establish an international tribunal or a hybrid tribunal. And mind you, if we're now at the stage that we think we don't even punish genocide anymore, we're losing our credibility. As long as we haven't managed that, member states should give priority to prosecution of Daesh foreign fighters by their national courts on the basis of active personality or universal jurisdiction. And we asked all countries what they did. And most prosecution take place only for terrorist-related offenses. That's why we ask you, please prosecute for war crimes and genocide. We make several recommendations in this regard. Do not forget female Daesh fighters. Use battlefield evidence and cooperate with UN investigative mechanisms for collecting evidence. And use mutual legal assistance tools such as joint investigation teams. In any event, when these people come home, implement de-radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration measures for all returnees, especially when you talk about children. But these programs should never, I repeat, never be a substitute for prosecution and punishment. Finally, President, there are 3 points I would like to include in the resolution which go beyond prosecution as such, what we should insist on. First, more than 150,000 victims of Daesh, Yazidi, still live in camps, in dire circumstances without the possibility of safe returns to their homes. They seem to be the forgotten group. So there's lots of countries focused on repatriating their members of Daesh. No one seems to care about these women and these children. And thousands of them are still missing. They may either be killed or be held in slavery in really appalling circumstances. We should help them. Secondly, Daesh fighters who are suspected of having taken part in the genocide pose a serious threat to European societies. There are different legitimate grounds, including national security and the prevention of crime, that should be taken into account if countries want to repatriate them. Article 8, the right to family life, is not absolute in the Convention. Last but not least, we should invite states to consider bringing proceedings under the Genocide Convention before the International Court of Justice in The Hague against those states which allegedly failed to prevent and punish acts of genocide. According to a report published by the Yazidi Justice Committee in July last year, there are reasonable grounds to conclude that Iraq, Syria and Turkey failed to discharge one or more of their obligations under the Genocide Convention. I would like to thank my colleagues from the Social Affairs Committee for the suggestions contained in their opinion, and I've sought to accommodate amendments where it is compatible with our committee's main line of reasoning. And I would like to state here that I'm really impressed by the survivors I met over the last 10 years. They've been waiting patiently for 10 years. And they're looking at assemblies like ours, or parliaments like ours, to finally start doing some form of justice for what happened to their families. And if you want to, you can look at a few of the films which were put and sent to you before this meeting. Thank you.